In the top stories, Minister Byron Nisbet announces improvements for Health Ministry. COVID-19 patients in Guyana must first recover to qualify for vaccine, and stranded vessel back afloat in Suez Canal. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today's Monday, the 29th of March 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, Health Minister the Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet has announced changes and upgrades across the ministry by the end of the year. Minister Byron Nisbet, who is also Deputy Leader of the People's Labour Party, made the statement at the 4th Annual Convention on Saturday. One of the planned upgrades is the construction of a new Cardin Home for elderly persons.
Our health information system will be implemented. No more paper. By the end of this year, we are making the commitment that in the Ministry of Health, no more paper. You come to the hospital or community centers, and it will be all digital. You will have your unique ID. And it doesn't matter where you go in our health system. You could be in JNF today and Mary Charles tomorrow. You could be in Tabernacle or St. Peter's the next day. Your health information would follow you through our health system, making sure we can serve you, the people, better.
The minister also spoke of updates to the health information system, where patient data will be accessible at any health facility.
Our elderly have been neglected for far too long. I know so many have heard about the cries from the Cardin Home. It needs some work to be done. I am happy to report that the drawings have already started at the Public Works, and I guarantee that we will begin work on the Cardin Home within this fiscal year. And so you can look forward to the transformation, because our elderly, they deserve more.
Minister of Health, the Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet. Local heritage stakeholders are working together to identify appropriate sites to be added to the UNESCO World Heritage List. Right now, the Federation has one UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Brimstone Hill Fortress National Park, which was inscribed in 1999. And according to a statement, an ad hoc interdisciplinary heritage committee is being established to document and recommend a list of heritage sites in the Federation for submission to the UNESCO tentative list. The team, drawn from across the Federation, consists of a historian, an architect, an archaeologist, a lawyer, a representative from each of the national trusts from St. Kitts and Nevis, and a representative from the Department of Culture on Nevis. The team will assess the suitability of sites that will meet the criteria to be nominated for UNESCO's World Heritage List. Secretary General of the St. Kitts and Nevis National Commission for UNESCO, Dorothy Warner, said, quote, "We're grateful to these professionals who have been invited to volunteer their time, energy, passion, and expertise to support the Federation in its quest to showcase those sites that rise to the top as ones worthy of inscription on UNESCO's World Heritage List." End quote. In other news, netball in St. Kitts and Nevis seems poised to return to a level of prominence within the community with the recreation of a united association and the election of a new executive body. Sean Seabrooks has more.
The St. Kitts and Nevis Netball Association has been recreated, and a new executive body has been elected for a 4-year period to ensure that netball continues to be played competitively within the Federation. The new executive was elected after a keenly contested election at the headquarters of the National Olympic Committee / Commonwealth Games Association on March 27th. Dion French has been elected as president, and his team includes Alistair Thompson, first vice president, Terence Crosman, second vice president, Vera Herbert, secretary, Rodona Chumney, treasurer, Corey Edwards, assistant secretary treasurer, and J.D. Keynes, public relations officer. While savoring his victory, French indicated that it is time to recognize the mandate of his new executive, which is to have netball played within our communities and schools. He also spoke of the need for a holistic approach to the development of the sport, which includes reaching out to those who were unsuccessful in the election and the representatives from each club. President French indicated that netball is an integral part of the personal development of young women in our communities.
It is very important because netball is one of, or the only sport for females, and we want to ensure that the young ladies now and in the future generation have an avenue to express themselves. Netball is not just a game to play. It also teaches you discipline, management, and so we want to ensure the continuation of that.
And of the National Olympic Committee and Commonwealth Games Association, Alfonso Bridgewater, extended congratulations to the new executive and intimated that this move was requested by his organization for an extended period of time. He revealed that as a result of the election of the new executive, the association will now be able to access financial and technical support from the NOC/CGA.
The National Olympic Committee and Commonwealth Games Association would be there to provide support, technical and financial assistance wherever possible to get this particular organization back up and provide the support that the predominantly female sport that we have in St. Kitts and Nevis netball could be back to its glory days.
Vice President of the NOC/CGA, Dennis Knight, who spearheaded his organization's efforts to recreate the sporting body, expressed his gratitude to the Nevis Department of Sports, particularly its director Jamia Claxton and the representatives from the various netball clubs from throughout the federation.
Well, this has been a process for some time in the making, and I would like to say led also by the Ministry of Sports in Nevis, Mr. Jamia Claxton, who is the Director of Sports there, in conjunction, of course, with the National Olympic Committee. In the end, we were able to mobilize 16 clubs, I think it's 11 in St. Kitts and 5 from Nevis, who eventually came to the election today and elected this new executive.
The election was based on a constitution that was approved just last month, February. The first formation of the St. Kitts and Nevis Netball Association was in 1979, when St. Kitts and Nevis participated in the World Netball Tournament. It became dormant shortly after for a number of years. Efforts to revive the organization in recent years proved futile because of the inability for representatives from both islands to reach a consensus. However, with a new executive elected and the association recreated, plans are being formulated for club netball to be played within the coming months.
Regionally, in Guyana, persons infected with COVID-19 must first recover and be medically cleared from the disease before they can qualify to be administered a vaccine. Tamika Rodney of HGP News has the details.
Persons who are infected with COVID-19 locally are expected to remain isolated, whether in their homes or at a medical facility, and practice safety measures to reduce the risk of infecting others. However, while various sections of the population are being prioritized to receive the vaccine as the immunization exercise continues, having a positive test result for COVID-19 could be for one's chance of receiving the jab. This is according to Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony, who made the revelation during Thursday's COVID-19 update.
We would prefer for them, if they already have the infection, we'll wait until they recover and then give them the vaccine. The guidelines have been that if you're already infected, that because you're infected, your body would start reacting to produce antibodies. So at that point, there's no need for the vaccine.
A World Health Organization analysis says it takes 2 weeks on average for persons experiencing mild symptoms of COVID-19 to recover. For those with complicated symptoms, the estimated time of recovery can be longer. Dr. Anthony further explained that a global vaccine protocol outlines that doses should be given to uninfected persons to aid their immune systems in developing antibodies to fight the disease if they become infected.
When they recover, their body, they'll still have antibodies. So that would be protective to prevent them from getting a reinfection. And then maybe after a month or two, you can then give them the vaccine.
People who are actively infected with COVID-19 and require hospitalization are being given remdesivir, dexamethasone, and other treatment options to support their recovery. Meanwhile, President Irfan Ali, in an address to the nation on Tuesday evening, announced that come next week, citizens 40 years and older will be able to access COVID-19 vaccines at sites throughout the country.
Early in a new week, the vaccination program will be expanded to all persons 40 years and older. To aggressively expand the program, the government of Guyana has procured 200,000 doses of vaccines and is exploring the further procurement of another 200,000 doses.
To date, more than 25,000 Guyanese have been inoculated against the potentially deadly coronavirus. Tamika Rodney reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Still on the regional scene, nearly 5,000 people have fled fighting in Venezuela and have taken refuge in neighboring Colombia after the Venezuelan army launched an operation against armed groups at its border. The Venezuelan military described it as an operation to rout, quote, irregular Colombian armed groups, end quote. But some who have fled the fighting have accused the Venezuelan military of abuses, including extrajudicial killings. Al Jazeera's Alessandro Rampietti reports.
José Gregorio Alicarra is disheartened as he shows us a video of his home destroyed in clashes between the Venezuelan army and a Colombian rebel group.
It's really sad seeing how easy it is to lose everything you've built with great sacrifice.
He and his family fled a week ago from a town across the border as Venezuelan soldiers moved into their neighborhood and bombs fell from the sky. They left in such a hurry that he didn't have time to put shoes on. He is one of almost 5,000 people who have sought refuge in one of the 18 shelters set up in and around the border town of Arauquita in Colombia. They've come here after the Venezuelan army started an unprecedented operation against Colombian armed groups they had long tolerated in their territory. Many are accusing security forces of abuses and, in at least one case, of extrajudicial killings.
I'm afraid of going back to Venezuela because I don't know what they would do to us. The soldier killed our neighbor, her kids, and her husband. They say we're all guerrillas.
The influx of refugees, many young children, is overwhelming this town. On Sunday, the Colombian government set up a command post to manage the worsening humanitarian situation with the help of the United Nations Refugee Agency and other organizations.
The priority is the humanitarian assistance of those who entered the country to guarantee their health, food, and hopefully guarantee a swift return.
The Colombian government is planning for the shelters to operate for at least 2 weeks, even if local Venezuelan authorities said on Saturday that people could go back.
Despite assurances from the Venezuelan government that the situation is under control, we heard more explosions coming from the other side just a few hours earlier, and more people are arriving, fleeing from Venezuela into Colombia 8 days into this crisis.
The situation is very difficult, this man says. There is no food. We don't know what we will do. Back at the shelter, most people say there are no guarantees for a safe return. For now, José Gregorio is happy he and his family at least have food and a shared roof over their heads. Alessandro Rampietti, Al Jazeera, Arauquita.
Internationally, the Ever Given has been successfully refloated on the Suez Canal, according to Inchcape Shipping Services, a week after it ran aground in high winds, blocking one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. The company said on Twitter, quote, "She's being secured at the moment. More information about next steps will follow once they're known," end quote. Al Jazeera's Alexi O'Brien reports.
Cheers of celebration in the Suez Canal and horns blaring as the Ever Given finally appears to make a move. For days, and despite a multinational rescue effort, the vessel has hardly budged. Now, finally, it's been refloated. Wedged across the Suez Canal, the scale of the problem has dwarfed the machinery seen as a solution. Dredgers and diggers have removed thousands of cubic metres of sand from underneath the giant container ship, and a team of at least 10 tugboats has been trying to dislodge it for days. Since it ran aground, tankers and cargo ships carrying oil, gas and grain have stacked up at either end of the canal, delaying global trade and costing billions of dollars every day.
Around about 7% of the world's oil trade goes through the Suez Canal, and it can't. Any ship has the choice of taking the longer route round the south of Africa. Takes around 2 weeks longer, obviously costs more because of the additional shipping costs. So ships are having to make that decision. Do they wait in that queue of 300, or do they take the longer trip?
The crisis is already having an impact on Syria. The authorities forced to announce fuel rationing as supplies from Iran are stuck.
The news coming out of Syria is deeply, deeply worrying. The country was already hitting crisis point with the economic collapse hitting Syria and the daily lives of Syrians. And now these delays to fuel shipments will make an already bad situation worse.
There had been fears an operation would be needed to lighten the ship, which has 20,000 containers on board, requiring a crane and other equipment that's yet to arrive. But it appears a flotilla of tugboats and a higher tide may have deemed that unnecessary. Alexia O'Brien, Al Jazeera.
And now for the weather. Current conditions are partly cloudy with a moderate breeze of 17 miles per hour from the east. The temperature is 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 5 to 8 feet, and a small craft advisory remains in effect mainly for the open waters on the Atlantic side of the islands. The weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis today says to expect mostly cloudy skies with a 60% or moderate chance of showers, and for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:24 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 6:07 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.